Tonight's Decision 2020 debate is brought to you by Deschutes Roofing and Mid-Oregon Credit Union.
Well, good evening and welcome back to the special edition of News Channel 21. I'm Lee Anderson. Tonight, the candidates for State Senate District 30 are here. And as you can see on this map, the district includes 7 Oregon counties and parts of 4 others. It's the largest district in the state. We're joined by incumbent Republican State Senator Lynn Findley and his Democratic challenger, Karina Miller. And first of all, I'd like to say welcome to both of you. Thanks for coming in tonight. We're going to have some fun here for the next half hour. Before the debate, we flipped a coin to see who would go first. Ms. Miller, you won, so you have the honor of going first. We'll begin with opening statements. You have 2 minutes, ma'am, to tell us about yourself and why you want to represent District 30.
Okay. Well, imi lautiwama ku imi naimuma inknashwaniksha Karina Miller. I just want to thank my friends and relatives for being here tonight. My name is Karina Miller. I actually grew up on the Warm Springs Indian Reservation in Central Oregon. I lived there my entire life. I'm a proud member of the Warm Springs tribe. I'm Wasco and Yakima as well. I went to the University of Oregon and ultimately got a degree in ethnic studies and came back home and worked for the Children's Protective Services for my tribe, Warm Springs. After that, I went and worked for the Umatilla tribe as a Head Start teacher for a while, and in these positions, working directly with children and families, I began to see disparities in a lack of services for people throughout rural districts. So eventually I came back home and I ran and was elected onto the 27th Warm Springs Tribal Council. I served a term for 3 years where I worked on a variety of issues from energy to education to cannabis to economic development to energy. And I worked on not just the tribal issues, but I had to work on the local level, the state level, the federal level, and navigate all those different kinds of policies. And so in doing that work, I was able to be appointed onto some work groups where I actually had a hand in drafting some legislation and policy, and think that that opportunity and those experiences, not just the lived experience of being a Native American woman who grew up in this rural district, whose people have always existed in this district, but an opportunity to bring the tribal leadership that my community has poured into me to the state level to help us navigate these difficult times and really be a champion for rural issues, not just because I have governmental experience, but because I am a Democrat and I can be a champion that can change the way that our leadership can impact the district as a whole. So again, thank you for being here, and I really appreciate this opportunity to stand next to Senator Finley and show people why we're running.
All right. Thank you very much, Ms. Miller. Senator Finley, you now have 2 minutes to tell us about yourself and why you'd like to continue representing District 30.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to KTVZ for hosting this event. These are somewhat difficult times for public gatherings, and I appreciate your diligence in providing this proper spacing. I'd also like to thank the viewing audience. You know, these are difficult times to try to get our messages out. This is an excellent way to do that, and I appreciate their time. There's nothing more valuable than time, and those people are donating it for us for this effort, and I appreciate that. I was born and raised in Eastern Oregon on a family cattle ranch, worked on our family small businesses, and I started fighting fires in a summer job and turned it into a 32-year career with the Bureau of Land Management. I retired from the Bureau of Land Management as the National Aviation Program Manager. Currently, I live just outside of Vail on a small acreage with my wife of 47 years, 3 dogs, 2 cats, 3 horses, and a small herd of mother cows. We also serve as a caregiver for my 99-year-old mother who lives next door to us. It is my honor and privilege to be the state senator for Senate District 30 that represents 36% of the state and what I consider to be the best part of the state. I've spent my entire life in public service, from fire management to planning commissions, various councils, to city manager, state representative, and finally as a state senator. I believe my role in the state senate is to all the people in the district as well as the state of Oregon. I strive to protect the way of rural life for Oregonians, and I attempt to assist my colleagues in the legislature with an analysis of unintended consequences on all legislation before the body. My priorities are economic development, natural resource management, job retention and job growth, public safety, improvement of rural health care, both physical and mental, throughout the district. These improvements can be made in the form of interconnectivity, through broadband, financial stability to providers, to reduction of needless rules and regulations that may work in the metro areas, but not so much in rural Oregon.
All right, thank you, sir. It's time for our first question now. And once again, Ms. Miller, you get to go first. Here's your question tonight. What is the greatest challenge facing your district, and how would you fix those challenges?
This is a difficult question because I think the reason that I'm running for this position is because there are issues across the board and everything is interconnected. But I think the thing that impacts all communities, and I think that Senator Finley might agree with this, is water. This is something impacting every family, every stakeholder within the district, and there's no real strategy forward yet for how we're dealing with it. I know my experience with the Tribal Council, Warm Springs is a senior water rights holder, and so my experience in looking at how different water irrigation districts navigate the allocation of water, it's something that I do grapple with, of how do we support all of the farmers, all of the businesses, all of the wildlife, all of the natural resources that we do have in this district, and be strategic with water. And so this is where we get into a bigger conversation of why are we having water issues? Why are the snowpacks lower? And we start to look at the bigger issues of long-term economic growth and decoupling this relationship of environment and economy, and understanding that we need to start having elected representatives who are being elected to represent actual people in the district. When you look at some of the statistics that exist for some of the counties in this district, Jefferson and Malheur are the most impoverished counties in the state of Oregon. They rank 35th and 36th within the state of Oregon. Nothing is being done economically. We have a lot of economic talking points, but those living wage jobs are not reaching the district. These are bigger conversations. The employment rate in Jefferson County is 8.4% as of September 2020. This is higher than the state and the national average. So when we're talking about economic growth, we need to be looking at leadership who are, first of all, not taking donations from corporate PACs and then voting in the best interest of those corporations versus people, but are really actually addressing long-term economic growth that will plug leakage and provide stable living wage jobs for the community.
Oh, very good, Ms. Miller. Thank you very much. Senator Finley, your turn on this question. What is the greatest challenge facing your district, and how would you fix it?
Well, thank you for the question. I think one of the greatest challenges we have is an overreach of state government, which limits our ability to thrive. It limits our ability to actively pursue the natural resources that we have. We have a tremendous amount of natural resources. We are a water-dependent society. I mean, most of Eastern Oregon, Southeast Oregon would be a desert without our stored water and our water systems. We have incredible agriculture products, but the overreach of regulations, taxation by the state government limits the ability for these corporations and these farmers and family farms to stay in existence. You know, when I was growing up, family farms were the norm. Everybody had an 80 or 160 acre farm. Those are pretty rare now because you just can't make it on that because of all the increased costs. When you spend, you know, $300,000 for a tractor, it takes a lot of row crop ground to make that viable. So I think what we have to do is not do a one-size-fits-all with excessive land use regulations. We need to let people do a better job of managing their own place on their own space. We need to just get off their backs and let people thrive and do better. So.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Mr. Rainey, you have 30 seconds to rebut what was just said or to add on to whatever you had said.
I think, I don't necessarily have a direct rebuttal to those points. I think just to add on to it, my current position is looking at local economies. And when we're talking about job growth, it's important to acknowledge that this district has been in Republican hands and these same talking points have existed, but rural Oregon has never benefited from the economic recovery that began in 2012. And these big jobs in timber and all of these industries, they haven't recovered in the level that we thought they would. So we have to start addressing those things realistically.
All right. Senator Finley, you have 30 seconds on this point.
Thank you. Well, there's a lot more to Eastern Oregon than the timber jobs. I mean, we have a tremendous amount of rangeland, tremendous amount of cattle, a tremendous amount of farming opportunities. So you got to look at the whole picture. I mean, you can't focus in on one. We have not experienced the depths of the recessions that the other side of the state has, but we haven't experienced the peaks of the post-recession events. So it's been more of a level, but it's still not acceptable. You know, it's tough to recruit businesses when we have an oppressive tax schedule.
All right, thank you, sir.